Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Taylor Owen. I'm the director of the Building to Zero Exchange and really excited to be here today with the ReCover initiative. This feels like a really great culmination of our work that we've been doing this fall to launch the ReCover initiative as well as engage a lot of building owners and industry experts to understand what some of the barriers and solutions are to building retrofits in Atlantic Canada. So thank you all for joining us. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge that myself, as well as the ReCover team, are in Mi'kma'ki today, the ancestral and unsurrendered territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We are all treaty people, and this land is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship. And these treaties are really based on relationships. So I ask you all to reflect today on how you can partner and listen and reflect on your relationship with Mi'kmaq people and this land, and how we can all partner together towards reconciliation. So for the webinar today, I have three panelists who are joining myself. And so Emma Norton, who is a co-founder as well as executive director of the ReCover initiative, Lori Rand, who is the other kind of co-creator, I guess, of ReCover and design director, and Sebastian Green will also be presenting, who is the manager of the Building Transformation Program, which you will hear a little bit more about in this presentation. So thank you all for being here. We are kind of wrapping up our roadshow around the Atlantic provinces, and it's been such a privilege and a pleasure to get to visit each of the Atlantic provinces with this team and really start to engage and discuss and understand more about the local context and understand how we can accelerate building retrofits in the Atlantic provinces. So today I'm going to hand it over to Emma shortly, who's going to give you a bit of an overview about the ReCover initiative. Lori will also do a bit more of the technical background, and then Sebastian will go into the Building Transformation Program. And I have a few kind of reflections from our time doing engagements that I will bring to you. We aren't done our full kind of report back on the reflections, which is to come in the new year, but have a few kind of pieces that I want to share with everyone. And then we're really hopeful that we'll have lots of time for discussion and questions. So as you're thinking through, what you're hearing in the presentations, feel free to put your comments and questions into the Q&A box or the chat, and I will keep an eye on that as the presentations continue. And then we'll keep some time at the end for those. And then there'll also be a time to follow up with the ReCover team and make sure that you know who to connect with on the team so that you can continue the conversation. So with that, I'm going to give you a little overview of BTZX. So the Building to Zero Exchange is a fairly new organization. Along with ReCover, we've both been kind of growing at the same time, which has been really exciting to see both of us aligned in the work that we're trying to do. And Building to Zero Exchange is really working as that convener and that collaborator within the building space to accelerate our transition to net zero buildings, both through retrofits as well as new buildings. And now I'm going to pass it over to Emma to the ReCover initiative.
Thanks so much, Taylor. I'm very grateful for the work that you and the Building to Zero Exchange team and the Net Zero Atlantic team have put together to make these roundtables a success. And thank you so much to everyone who's attending this webinar today. I saw quite a few familiar names, and some of you were at the roundtables and the launches, so I'm glad that you are so excited or so interested that you're here today to learn some more. So like Taylor said, my name is Emma Norton. I am the executive director and one of the co-founders of the ReCover initiative. Lori is the other co-founder, and you'll get to hear from her in a few minutes. So the ReCover initiative was founded in 2020 with a mission to develop deep retrofit solutions that address the climate crisis at speed and scale We achieve our mission through research and development, programs and services to building owners, and capacity building activities for the industry. As the Deep Retrofit Accelerator for Atlantic Canada, we are forging partnerships and collaborations to transform the region's building sector. Our vision is long-term. We aim to ensure that all buildings in Atlantic Canada are healthy, resilient, and environmentally responsible. And this is going to take much longer than the 2-year plan we are discussing today, but we are up for the task. ReCover is funded by the Government of Canada through Natural Resources Canada and supported by other funders, including the ECHO Foundation, the McConnell Foundation, and the Trottier Foundation. Next slide, please. So let's talk about deep retrofits. There is no pathway to a net zero future without them. In 2022, homes and buildings were the source of 12 to 17% of Canada's greenhouse gas emissions. Moreover, between 1990 and 2022, greenhouse gas emissions from buildings has increased by 23% across the country, and this problem is more pronounced in Atlantic Canada. While Canada is introducing buildings and energy codes to improve energy efficiency of new buildings, tens of millions of existing buildings will need to be upgraded to meet the country's 2050 net zero target. This requires a massive scale up in deep retrofits, because currently Canadians retrofit just over 1% of our building stock annually, but to meet our 2050 targets, we need to increase that to closer to 12%. I am particularly passionate about deep retrofits because they bring a range of community benefits, reducing energy bills, improving affordability, enhancing the mental and physical health of occupants, and creating economic growth. In fact, deep retrofit investments generate more jobs per $1 million invested than many other industries, including conventional and renewable energy sectors. New slide, please. So this is a nice photo of many of our team members from a retreat in the summer. Over the past 6 months, we've gone from a team of 3 to a team of about 10. Just direct team members. That doesn't include all of our various partners that work closely with us. And we're all working together to advance this accelerator. New slide, please. So ReCover's first project was an in-depth feasibility study of a panelized deep retrofit of an apartment building. We presented the results via webinar in June 2020, and we had about 150 people turn out. This study caught the attention of others, and over the next 3 years, we completed 7 more studies. We also led capacity building workshops for industry, and we created a job shadowing program in partnership with One North End for African Nova Scotian youth. The focus on technical feasibility was necessary for a team with such limited resources, but it was clear that there are many factors beyond technical feasibility holding deep retrofit acceleration back. We also wanted to explore deep retrofit approaches beyond panelization. Next slide, please. Now, with a mission based on the idea that the greenest building is the one that already exists, we are still focused on developing scalable deep retrofit solutions. Our activities have broadened to research and development, delivering programs and services to property owners, and capacity building activities for the industry. This work involves building a deep retrofit roadmap for our region. We will aggregate certain archetypes and prioritize them based on prevalence, energy intensity, and other factors. This roadmap will be published for industry and government to better understand where to invest moving forward. We are also developing a program called the Building Transformation Program, which Seb is going to tell you about in a few minutes, to lead property owners through the deep retrofit pre-development, development, and implementation process. And of course, we're also working with the Building to Zero Exchange to increase the capacity for the deep retrofit industry. Next slide, please. ReCover cannot do this alone, and we shouldn't. There is already a lot of great work happening in the field of deep retrofit. Some of our key collaborators and partners are on the screen here. We need partners with all kinds of expertise. Next slide, please. And we invited you here today because of your expertise and experience in buildings. We will share our program development approach with you, and your feedback will enhance program development. We also understand that knowledge sharing and peer-to-peer learning can be helpful and fruitful for the progress, so hopefully there will be a little bit of that happening today. Thanks so much. Now I'm going to hand it over to Lori.
Thanks, Emma. So it's important that we all understand what we mean by the term deep retrofit. Deep retrofits are a whole building approach to renovating buildings and optimizing the energy and carbon performance. And typically they involve upgrades to multiple building systems and achieve a minimum of 50% energy savings and a minimum of 80% of greenhouse gas reductions. And that definition of a deep retrofit is the definition that comes from NRCan, and that's the definition that ReCover is working with in all of our programs and services. Next. You may notice that we are choosing to use the term deep retrofit, and we're deleting the word energy from the middle of that phrase. And the reason for that is, while we very much care about energy savings, there are many benefits that come about as a result of retrofits aside from energy and carbon savings. Things like health improvements. In our region, we have a lot of mold and issues related to moisture, as well as air infiltration in our buildings, and a deep retrofit can help with that. And also resilience. So when we are encountering impacts from severe storms that are increasing in incidence and in intensity, a deep retrofit to a building can better support the building occupants in that situation. And there are many other benefits, non-energy benefits to deep retrofits. Next. All of the provinces in Atlantic Canada have made a commitment to a net zero future. New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland have all committed to doing this by 2050, and Prince Edward Island has committed to do that by 2040. And as Emma said, there's no pathway to net zero without deep retrofits. So what the typical pathway for buildings looks like is starting with energy conservation measures, where we optimize everything about the building in terms of energy savings before electrification, and then finally adding a source of renewables onto the building. Next. Because deep retrofits are a holistic approach involving a whole building retrofit, it's important to have a very well-framed plan for a deep retrofit. The sequence of upgrades very much impacts the effectiveness of the performance upgrades and the cost effectiveness of the project. And this relates directly to the previous slide. You can make a building net zero in a different pathway, but it's not going to be as cost effective, and potentially it won't achieve the same performance benefits. So we want to be careful about that. We also need to be careful when planning retrofits to have an awareness that retrofits can trigger a cascade of other upgrades related to building codes, functionality of the building, and aesthetics. And so these typically add to the cost of the project. And so we need to have contingency or some proactive planning to be aware of these before implementing retrofits. And finally, because retrofits can be quite expensive and also can be invasive and challenging for logistical reasons, in some cases, phasing of a project over different stages of work may be necessary. Next. So some of the Typical things that a deep retrofit can include, and almost always includes, are measures that reduce energy losses through a building envelope, measures that increase the energy efficiency of mechanical and electrical equipment and systems, measures that improve the building's integrity and durability, and then electrification and installing of renewable energy systems. Next. It's typical when we are evaluating decisions about buildings and retrofits to view them through a simple payback lens or a return on investment lens, where we're looking at a short-term impact on the cost effectiveness of the projects. That approach is appropriate when we're evaluating the financial impact of standalone measures, things like installing of heat pumps or LED light conversions. But when we're talking about a whole building retrofit in which multiple systems are upgraded, these systems impact each other. And so the performance changes and the return on investment calculations are much more complex. And so we are advising that we look at life cycle costing, looking based on a total cost of building ownership analysis that's based on the useful lifespan of the building. And what that means in most buildings is looking at that life cycle costing over 50 to 60 years. For an asset that is as long-lived as a building, it's not really reasonable to evaluate expensive measures over a short period of 15 or 20 years. And this life cycle cost analysis needs to capture all of the anticipated building expenses. So we wouldn't be looking just at energy costs over the life of the building, but also looking at costs associated with things like insurance and financing and maintenance and servicing of all of the components of the building over that lifespan. And then this model also needs to be based on a conservative rate of inflation that is kind of set according to the average rate of inflation over a comparable time period of 50 to 60 years or more. Next. Deep retrofits are risky. ReCover exists because we want to de-risk deep retrofits. And so some of those risks that we're working on addressing include things like budget and schedule overruns, inflation, labor shortages, supply chain shortages, scope creep, or unexpected work that is triggered by deficiencies found during construction or during demolition of the building, and timing on funding programs, which when deep retrofits planning takes a while, and sometimes the funding that you're anticipating using can disappear while you're planning the project. And now I'm going to turn things over to Seb to talk about the building transformation program.
Thanks, Laurie. Hey, everyone. I'm Sebastian. I help develop and deliver the programs here at ReCover. And today we want to share the details about one of our programs under the Deep Retrofit Accelerator that's open for applications, and that's the Building Transformation Program. And I'm going to go Taylor. Next slide. There you go. In short, the Building Transformation Program is a funding and support program that helps building owners identify, optimize, and implement deep retrofits to save energy, reduce their costs, and meet their organizational sustainability goals. And I do want to mention one thing. I mentioned the term building owners throughout when we talk about the program, but a building owner comes in all shapes and sizes, and we've worked with lots. It could be a nonprofit organization, a municipal government, a for-profit commercial enterprise that owns a building, and everything in between in terms of condos and co-ops and things like that. So I apologize. We lump everyone together as a building owner, but it's easier to do it that way. Next slide, please, Taylor. And we didn't want to launch a program without a deep understanding of the challenges building owners have. We wanted to complete some outreach with building owners before we launched this program or created this program. So it was well informed in terms of the challenges building owners actually have when it comes to planning, implementing deep retrofits. So we did some foundational research. We did one-on-one interviews with building owners, and we hosted roundtables across Atlantic Canada with building owners and others from the industry. And you can see some of the themes that have come out of those conversations here in this slide. And I just want to quickly go through them, as it really speaks to how the program was created to address the barriers and challenges about implementing deep retrofits. So ReCover exists to support, accelerate deep retrofits at speed and scale. And we want to help inform building owners about the benefits of deep retrofits as a first step, as there's a lack of knowledge within the space about what deep retrofits are or the benefits that might be associated with them. Same when it comes to the outcomes for a deep retrofit. The program exists to help building owners create goals for both themselves and their buildings when it comes to implementing deep retrofits. And again, on that knowledge piece, we see lots of different information out there about deep retrofits or equipment or which is best, which way to go. So we really want to advocate for building owners using those goals that we created to make sure that any work that happens on their building aligns with their goals and what the building needs. Owners can also be hesitant with decisions because of that differing information or the opaque outcomes. And this program really exists to empower building owners to make confident decisions. We want building owners who are confident that deep retrofits are the way to go for their building. There's also varying levels of technical expertise within the building owner community. So this program also wants to translate all that technical language or technical documentation that's created throughout this process into, again, goal-oriented clarity, something that they can feel confident with and make decisions on. There's also limited capacity for building owners to do everything. We get it, we're busy too, but a dedicated point of contact within the program exists to increase the owner capacity to be able to work throughout the deep retrofit journey. And also, when it comes to tenants, not every building owner is equipped with the tools to engage them. So we also support the engagement and expectation setting with tenants when appropriate. And financial constraints are an obvious one. This program supports owners to find and apply for the incentives, the rebates, the financing options that might be out there to support their deep retrofit project. And the program also supports connections to pre-qualified service providers, so you don't have to worry so much about finding folks who can actually implement the deep retrofit. We want to help with that too. And this is who the Building Transformation Program is for. We're specifically focused under the Deep Retrofit Accelerator funding envelope. We're focused on 4 stories and up when it comes to multi-unit residential buildings. So townhouses, apartments, condos, all of those things fall into this bucket. And something that we'd love to work with. Commercial buildings as well, any type, so office buildings, community centers, long-term care facilities, et cetera. And institutional buildings as well, so a university or museum or something like that would also be able to receive support from this program. The one caveat, and I did note it was asked in the Q&A section, so if you have questions, feel free to post there. But this program is for existing building stock to reduce their energy and GHG emissions. So we don't support new construction projects under this program or projects where the energy use can't be reduced by 50%. Maybe you've already done lots of efficiency upgrades and you're already there. And this is the general process for how the program works. When you first contact ReCover, and I encourage you to look through our website or reach out to anyone on the team, they can help you get on board into this program. But we start with a goal discovery, again, trying to understand the owner's goals and the building's goals and what needs to be done to make a deep retrofit happen. Next, we have a building qualification process. So we really want to make sure that we can support you in the right way. If we can't, we'll be sure to tell you and put you in a better position with one of our partner organizations or connect you to folks who can help with your project. But if it is something that the Building Transformation Program can help with, we want to scope out some of that during this section and get you qualified for the program. Next is the technical assessment. So this is funding assistance that's available to support the creation of an energy audit and a feasibility study and a cost estimate. So we're looking at an ASHRAE and level 2 energy audit for your building. Feasibility study, we have some flexibility in what's included in that. So it could be an engineering assessment, could be a civil assessment, climate resiliency study, economic impact analysis, total cost of building ownership study, things of that nature, to really de-risk the deep retrofit project and give you a plan for how to move forward. And then the implementation support is the service part of the building transformation program. So that would be things like identifying and finding grant or funding opportunities and help you work through that, navigating the rebate or incentive programs that are out there, and other similar sorts of planning support to help you kick off your deep retrofit project. Again, this is where connections to the pre-qualified service providers would fit as well. And this is really what you get as a participant in this program. We're really focused on trying to find buildings and owners which are archetypical. So things that can be repeated elsewhere in Atlantic Canada. So if you have an archetypical building or you're an archetypical building owner, we'd love to talk to you and find ways of how we can support. But these are some ways that we might be able to support you. So we might be able to contribute some funding towards energy audits and feasibility studies to have those completed. We create a detailed needs analysis as part of this program to really support your decision making and build up that confidence that the decisions you're making around deep retrofits are solid and you feel comfortable in making them. A clear retrofit roadmap that presents the opportunities and, as Lori mentioned earlier, the phases or stages of how you might implement a deep retrofit onto your building. A dedicated point of contact is standard within the program to help you navigate the rebate incentive programs that are out there, as well as we can help identify and apply for grants and funding applications, sort of on an as needed or as scoped approach. And lastly, with our partners over at HCI3, we've developed a resource package that's going to be tailored to the building owner and building to outline the financing options that are available today to help make that deep retrofit a reality. And again, if you're interested in learning more or becoming a participant in the program, reach out to ReCover. You can find us on our website or reach out to JP, who's on this call here. He can help navigate some of that process for you as well.
Sebastian. Yeah, thanks to the ReCover team. It was really wonderful to hear again kind of where you started and then where you have come to today and the launch of the program. It's really exciting to see. And this is the, I guess, 5th time I'm hearing the presentation because we completed 4 roundtables across the Atlantic provinces, and I still learn something new every time. So it's exciting to see the evolution even over just the last few months. And so I wanted to, before we get into some of the questions, I wanted to provide a little bit of a summary of what we heard as we traveled around the Atlantic provinces. And I'll start with my biggest kind of takeaway is that each province was so different. And I think a lot of Canada just kind of puts Atlantic Canada all together as like one place that's all the same. And the federal government often just wants to fund things that are the same across the entire region. And I think my biggest takeaway was that the conversations and the challenges were actually quite unique in each province. And it really means that ReCover, as well as the BTZX team and partners, are going to have to really think about what some of those local context pieces mean and how we support each community or each location maybe a little bit differently. And so before I jump into these, I do want to remind you that if you have any questions or thoughts that you would like to discuss, please put them in the Q&A box and we will get to those. I see some popping up already, which is great. And so some of the challenges that we heard, this probably isn't going to be surprising, and a lot of them have come up already. But that high upfront cost of a retrofit and the need for unique financing solutions was very clear. Thinking through, how do you create something that's maybe new and more flexible? What could those mechanisms to provide financing for deep retrofits really look like? We had quite a few conversations around workforce capacity. How do we find enough people, and then also make sure that the people that we need have the right skills and training to be able to deliver on deep retrofits in the Atlantic region. And so some of the solutions were talked about were really engaging with educational institutions early, and thinking about what programs already exist or what changes might need to be made to some of those programs. As well as job shadowing, which Emma already mentioned is one of the projects that the ReCover team has already been working on. Tenant engagement and the potential of disruption through deep retrofits was a theme. And so thinking through some less disruptive retrofit methods, what could that look like? How do we make sure that we're not, the program is not leading to rent evictions, and that we're engaging tenants early and often throughout the process? A general discussion around collaboration. There's a lot of people working in this space and a lot of people kind of doing different pieces of all of this work. And so how do we make sure that we're collaborating, that we're really communicating clearly between all of these organizations and all of the partners that are involved, and that we're able to kind of address some of those efficiencies or those silos that are currently taking place. And a solution to that was, improving the storytelling around retrofits. How do we make sure that we are communicating what the benefits are, that we're sharing case studies of successful projects and really highlighting what the benefits and what the outcomes of these projects can be. We had many discussions around the goal. And so Lori mentioned the goal of the energy reductions and the GHG emission reductions from this program. And that comes from NRCan. And so in each jurisdiction, the conversation was a little bit different of like, is this goal ambitious enough? And, in other places it was maybe this goal is too ambitious. And so providing a little bit of clarity around what is the goal and then what are the different pathways that can help us feasibly actually get there was a really interesting discussion. And so I think that definition of our goal, making sure we're balancing that ambition with also being attainable. The knowledge or the education of building owners. There's some building owners who are very well educated. They know what this means. They know what this looks like and they're ready to go. And then there's many building owners who this is the first time they've ever really talked about deep retrofits. And so what are the kind of hand-holding or education, communication type mechanisms that need to be developed to really kind of hold the hand of a building owner throughout this entire retrofit process? And then the last theme that we took from the sessions was around government support. We know government support is very necessary, and even the funding from NRCan to support the ReCover initiative to do this work is very fundamental to kind of spur that action. But there's more coordination and more alignment between all levels of government that's really needed to create that market transformation where we're moving from that around 1% of retrofits up to 12% of retrofits per year if we really want to meet our climate goals. So more alignment, more regulatory and policy pieces are needed to continue this great work that's getting started. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to all of you. I see a few questions here that we'll get started with, and then we will have the ReCover team hopefully answer some of them. So, I'm seeing a lot are being answered, which is great.
We could read through those, Taylor, just in case folks are keeping up with the chat.
Yeah, there's some good ones in here. So yeah, there was a question around the kind of percentage of reductions for new buildings, and Emma did clarify that this program is really focused on our existing building stock and our existing buildings through retrofitting. So new construction is not covered under the ReCover initiatives programs right now. And then there's another question around the building transformation program and that process, and what the potential charge to the owner or the financial commitment would be to access these services. So Sebastian, do you want to jump in on
Yeah,
that one?
sure. I can answer that. And I hate answers like this that say it really depends, but in this case, in this industry, it really does. Buildings are so different. Building owner needs are so different. And we really want to meet owners where they are. So I wish I could tell you, it's 25% or 50% or something like that, but it really is going to depend on the building owner, where it's going to be, somewhere in there.
Thanks. There was another question around provincial government buildings and if those qualify, and that got a yes. So if you're a part of the provincial government and you have some buildings that you think might be a good candidate for this program, please get in touch with the team, because those projects and buildings are eligible. Has BIPV, I'm not sure of that acronym, been looked at as a significant opportunity to contribute to the deep energy retrofit initiatives?
I can answer that if you want, Taylor. So far ReCover and really ReCover isn't going to be working ourselves on these retrofit solutions. So the way that the program is going to work is that we will work with building owners to procure a professional design team to do analysis for them. We just, our team is small. We just absolutely don't have the capacity to be doing studies ourselves. So BIPV, so that's building integrated photovoltaics. So, and it's, if you don't know what that means, it's if instead of solar panels, there will be photovoltaics integrated into the building's cladding. And so that can work really well on a building that perhaps doesn't have good solar potential for the roof. That's absolutely an approach that is part of our net zero future. And we are confident that I'm confident that our design teams will analyze that for specific buildings. But, we haven't done anything on that to date.
Thanks, Lori. We also had a question specific to PEI and who kind of those local partners are. And so I'm wondering, Emma, if you want to talk a little bit about who some of the local partners are in each province that you have been in discussion with or talking with over the last little while.
Sure. Yeah, I can say in PEI, we had the Office of Net Zero with the provincial government co-host our launch with us, which we were really grateful for. The deputy minister spoke at the event and they helped us choose who should be on our panel. And I really encourage you, if you can, to check out who was on the panel. We did have a fabulous conversation about what the deep retrofit industry looks like on PEI. In New Brunswick, we were collaborating with Save Energy New Brunswick. And again, they helped us find a good panel and make connections and promote. And in Newfoundland and Labrador, we had 3 on-the-ground partners. We were working closely with EcoNext. We were also working with the city of St. John's and the municipalities of Newfoundland and Labrador. In each of these locations, we're building new relationships, and as nothing is necessarily in writing yet, but as I alluded to earlier, this is going to take a team effort. So there are new partnerships in the works. We're open to discussing partnerships if we haven't already started that discussion with you. And yeah, this is going to take us all working together. So I appreciate the question.
Thanks. There's a question here from Tony around what method is used to measure a building's percentage reduction in total energy usage accurately. Lori, or Seb, maybe if you want to take this one of what kind of that approach is to measurement and verification for projects.
Yeah. So the initially at the start of a study, we will gather energy bills for whatever utilities are being used in the building, and calculate the average annual energy use and greenhouse gas emissions. And then the design team that is working on the building will be tasked with identifying the sort of optimized pathway to achieve at least 50% energy savings, hopefully more, and targeting that 80% greenhouse gas emissions savings in that building as well. There will be so this will be determined through energy modeling, and you know, it will be very carefully quantified. Does that help?
Thanks, Lori. There was a question around whether the sessions are recorded. I don't believe the panel sessions were recorded, but we do have kind of a reflection and summary report that's coming from the roundtables. And so you can keep an eye out for that coming in January, which is kind of our baseline engagement report that we'll be able to release and reflect on. I'm just reading a question here around partnerships, so partners or other organizations across the province about helping homeowners trust the process of deep retrofitting their homes. So what is the most common concern that you're hearing or that people have about retrofits, and how do we think about addressing those concerns that are coming from homeowners or building owners? Great question.
I can answer this, Taylor, if you'd like.
Sure.
Or address it. And one thing to note, if it wasn't clear, the building transformation program is for commercial owners, so not residential homes. But on that front, we certainly over the last number of months have been talking to building owners about the concerns and the barriers and the challenges that they're working with when it comes to deep retrofits. And those are what we alluded to in that list in terms of the opaque outcomes, the differing information, the financing challenges and things like that. And the program has really been designed to address each of those challenges, where they stand and where they stand today, to help building owners through those things. And that, like we described earlier, looks quite different within delivery, depending on the owner and things like that. But if you have more challenges or see more barriers that we haven't talked about here today, please let us know too. We want to help address those for you. If you're a building owner or if you're considering deep retrofits, even if we can't work with you, hopefully we can point you in the right direction to give you some better information or better decision-making context.
Thanks. So there's a question here from Greg around what divisions or type of contractors are you most looking for to build contractor networks in all 4 of these provinces? So I guess who do you want to be reaching out to and working with specifically on the delivery of these programs or projects?
I can answer that. Hi, Greg. So right now, because we are kind of starting to procure feasibility studies for deep retrofits, we are working on developing a list of pre-qualified contractors for that service delivery. So architects and engineers and people working in the design field are encouraged to get in touch with us. We will actually be issuing a request for qualifications probably in the new year. And so watch for that. But in the meantime, we would welcome being contacted by anybody who's interested in that. And then, we don't just want to do studies. Obviously, we want these studies that we're working on to turn into actual implementation. And so it's a slightly lesser priority right now, but we will be looking also for contractors who are, building contractors who are interested in doing the construction work, who are keen to do deep retrofit work, to also get in touch with us. And down the road, we will be developing that list of pre-qualified service providers as well. So the answer is kind of everybody, but we need a lot of help to get this scaling from 1% up to 12% of our buildings undergoing deep retrofits over the next few years.
Yeah, thanks, Lori. And to add on to that, someone just asked if you are going to be looking specifically for consulting firms to be working with as well. Yes,
Yeah.
I see a nod. Yeah.
Okay. Get in touch.
That's great. There's a question here around engaging with marginalized communities and to help get kind of a diversity perspective as you're implementing your programs. So wondering if you want to chat about that, Emma.
Yeah, it's a good question. As I said, this is going to take all of us, and that means making sure we're listening to the folks who've traditionally or historically been left out of these discussions. So we have two partners that we're working extremely closely with. One of them is One North End, and they are representing African Nova Scotians, and their focus, they focus on, they don't necessarily represent, but they economic opportunities for the African Nova Scotian community. So that's why we created the job shadowing program. We're also working with them to create communications materials that are geared towards African Nova Scotian communities. They also have been connecting us with buildings that serve or are owned by the African Nova Scotian community. So we're very inspired to be working with them, with One North End and the community members they're connecting us with. We've also been working with the Union of Nova Scotia Mi'kmaq, which is one of the two tribal councils here in Nova Scotia. They represent 5 communities in Inamagi and Cape Breton, and we've been working on capacity building activities specifically with the Union of Nova Scotia Mi'kmaq, and they're on our steering committee. We understand that there's a lot more than those two communities that we could be working on building better relationships and hearing the perspectives of, and it's definitely part of our strategy moving forward that we're reaching out to other communities throughout Atlantic Canada, other Indigenous communities, other communities of color, other communities that might be low income or have affordable housing. And so, yeah, it's in progress, and we've made some steps forward.
Thanks, Emma. There's a question here around what some of the current bottlenecks or challenges are that you're seeing, and it says in various streams. And so kind of what have you noticed as you're maybe designing your programs and your projects and getting them up and running? What are some of those barriers? Is it clients, contractors, designers, policy, government? What are some of those factors that you've been noticing? This goes out to anyone on the team who wants to jump in.
I'm happy to touch on that. And we've been having a number of conversations with building owners in all provinces. There are a number of things that come up. So, for example, the financing, the ability to finance the project to completion. This is one that comes up. What we're also seeing are new financing programs being developed. BDC just launched one officially. It's been in a pilot for about a year, and they officially launched it 3 weeks ago. So they've got a great program. RBC, we're spending time with them, and they're very aggressive in this space, and we're going to see other financial institutions as well get more focused in this space. Some provinces, they may need to update some of their policies around, the the green initiative. Some of the policies that are in place may be quite old, 10 years plus, for example, and given everything that's happened over the last just 10 years, those types of things I think have to be revisited. Obviously, historical buildings are a challenge. There's a lot of policies and regulations around what you can and cannot do with an older building that has that status. So, the part of what we're doing in addition to launching the program is we're creating that conversation. We're creating a lot of conversations at various different levels of government, for example, to bring more attention into this space. And the result of that will be, and it's not just us, there are a lot of other organizations now who are very much involved in this space. So you're going to see more and more change, I think, in a positive way coming as we continue the work.
Thanks, JP. And the last question that I'm seeing here is around if the ReCover initiative has completed any kind of complete retrofits on a multi-unit building. And it sounds like there's a building that might be a potential candidate for the program. So Lori, I'll let you answer this one.
So far, ReCover has done 8 feasibility studies for deep retrofits. We have not completed any retrofits or worked with any building owners through to the completion of a project. We're pretty young. However, members of our team have been involved in deep retrofits, including myself. So, I will say that it's very rare for a deep retrofit in Atlantic Canada, or really anywhere in Canada, to actually hit the targets that we and that NRCan are looking for in this kind of project. And that's why Emma and I started ReCover, because we really need to be seeing higher performance deep retrofits if we're going to meet our net zero goals. So we ReCover haven't done any, but we're going to, and we'd love to work with you, Brian.
Thanks, Lori. I want to ask one last question. If there's any other burning questions, feel free to pop them in the Q&A. But I wanted to put it out to the team. It's sometimes very easy to focus on the challenges. And I think even in our presentation today, we, talked about what some of those barriers are and what we're seeing coming up as being really hard. And so I want to put it to all of you of what's really inspiring you lately, what's exciting you about the work that's ahead, and what kind of keeps you coming back every day, thinking about, this really big challenge that's ahead of us, and what excites you most.
I'll start. Sorry, Emma. I am just excited by the potential. There is an incredible opportunity here for us to impact our buildings, and buildings impact people's lives. And so, while sort of at its base, this initiative is about greenhouse gas savings and energy savings, it's actually about improving people's lives and making healthier, more affordable spaces. And once I started looking out my window, even right now, I can look out my window and see 20 buildings that I want to work on right now. So it's just unlimited, the good work that we can do. And we know that it's challenging and that it's expensive and that there are barriers, but they're very, we can work through those. It's really about just this opportunity is actually just there for the taking.
Thanks, Lori. Do you want to add on to that, Emma?
It's no surprise that my answer is very similar to Lori's, because we started this together. But I did want to say something that definitely keeps me coming back are the people that work in this industry. It's the people on this call, on this team, but then also the audience. There's a lot of really great work happening, and every day I feel I hear about a cool new technology or approach for us to be thinking about and learning about. But similarly to what Lori said, the economic and social and case for deep retrofits for investing in our current infrastructure and the way that it helps every community, and and everyone can benefit from it. Like, we spend 90% of our lives inside of buildings. It's just a really exciting opportunity to improve the well-beings of individuals and also groups of people and our neighbors.
Thank you both. I'm not seeing any more questions, so I think we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much to our panelists, as well as to the rest of the ReCover team who joined us here today. It was always exciting to kind of hear what is on the horizon, and then also to see the work that's already been accomplished to date. So for anyone who is interested in getting in contact with the ReCover team, whether you're a building owner and want to learn more about the building transformation program, if you're, a potential contractor or consultant who might want to help, or a partner who's, we're rowing in the same direction and trying to get towards the same goal, I encourage you to reach out to ReCover and continue the conversation after today. I also want to let you know that our reflection report from all of these initial engagements will be out in the new year, so keep an eye out for that. Follow the Building to Zero Exchange and ReCover on social media. Sign up for our emails on our website, and you'll definitely hear about that report when it comes out. So thank you all so much for your time today. This was a great discussion. Thank you for your thoughtful questions and comments, and I'm sure there's lots of conversations that will come out of today. Thank you all so much.